Are you looking for practical ways to save money now and looking ahead to the future? In this video, I'm going to give you 10 tips that will help you save money now. They're practical and they will help you plan for the future. Make sure to watch all the way through to the end. You do not want to miss this. Welcome! I'm Amy, and here at Frugal Over 50, I give you tips and tools for frugal living, all personally tested by me. Now let's get right to these tips. Number 1, don't spend more than you earn. I know, I'm starting off with an obvious one, and I'm also starting off with a hard one. This is a really tough one for a lot of us, and it's especially tough for a lot of us right now at this point in history. If you're watching this video at the time it was made, some of us are not making anything. Maybe some unemployment, maybe living on savings. Others of us have jobs, but we're worried about them for the future. And the idea of thinking about what we're earning and living on that much or less is pretty scary. But if you have that as a mindset, then even when times are tough, you can think about how can I reduce expenses so that they can more closely match up to the income that I have coming in or the lack of income that I have coming in. I don't have any particular advice for you in your exact situation right at this moment, except to say, look honestly at what is coming in, look honestly at what is going out, and look honestly at where you can expect to reduce expenses so that they more closely match up to what's coming in. For some of us, that's a depressing thought, and I just want to acknowledge that right here and now. Again, this is a very tough time in history for us to be having this conversation, and I am not trying to pile on you or judge you or say anything bad about you if you are in a situation where you have had to go into debt in order to survive. You do what you have to. But where possible, have the mindset that you're going to look at what's coming in, you're going to look at what's going out, and then you're going to match those two so that what's going out is less than, or at the most, equal to what's coming in. Tip number 2, review your bills. About once a year, it's a good idea to take a look at all of your regular bills, large and small, and just evaluate them. Look at all of your bills compared to what you paid the year before and the year before that, for the ones that are really big. Look at your spending habits over the course of the last year. Evaluate where you can change, where you can cut back, maybe where you need to grow. The classic example of this is the large purchases like home insurance, car insurance, umbrella insurance. It's always a good idea to review your policy every year. Make sure you're covered for what you need, not covered for what you don't need, and shop around if that's appropriate in your market. Look for other options. Look for places where you can get better deals. I have even been known to write to my insurance agent and say, look, this is my upper limit for what I can spend this year. What can we drop so that we can get to that number? And we were able to drop a couple of things so that I still was well insured, but I was able to spend within my budget. So reach out, look around, do some research. Now, you also want to look at some smaller bills, the sneaky ones like little subscriptions. I found one just the other day from iTunes. It was for $1 a month, and it was for a cloud service that I didn't need because I had recently bought a very large cloud service that I actually do need that covers our whole family. And so this little $1 a month, it was just dribbling out. I was able to cancel that, and that's $12 a year, but it's the mindset, again, of reviewing your bills and just making sure that you're not paying more for something than you need to pay, or it's possible that your needs have changed. For example, I've got a couple of teenagers in the house, so when we got a teen driver, then the insurance had to go up, of course. That's the only safe way to go, and so you have to plan for those kinds of changes as well. But if you review your bills at least once a year, it helps you to get a real honest accounting of where you are financially and how you're interacting with the world financially. It can also be fun and terrifying, but fun, to look and see where you were this past year, where you were the year before, and just compare some notes. If you need to go back and even look at your taxes so that you can check your income and check how much you paid, what was your refund, just compare these numbers and review everything. The goal of this review is to determine your true needs when you're planning for the next year or for the next however long that period is that you're planning for. Make sure that you're not just reviewing and then walking away, but instead walk away with a plan for what you're going to change, what you're going to add, what you're going to subtract, and what you're going to do different. Number 3, As you're planning for now and being practical and looking ahead to the future, buy used. This is something that I talk about a lot here on the channel, specifically with reference to cars. I am a big fan of buying used cars. Some of you have told me that you prefer to buy a new car and then drive it until it drops. That's another approach that I don't disagree with, because you're buying it and getting every bit of value out of it that you can. But in general, I like to look for things that are used, and I recommend that strategy to you as well. This doesn't have to be just cars. I have bought most of my phones and many electronics refurbished. You can buy them refurbished from the companies that make them. You can also buy them refurbished off eBay or other sites like that. You can purchase used clothing at the Goodwill. I love to buy as much of my clothing as possible used, and it does take a little bit of effort to get in the store and look and see what's there. But folks, there is so much clothing clogging planet Earth right now that we don't really need to go out and buy new clothes. There are very few occasions where that's absolutely necessary. So the next time you need to make a purchase, I recommend that the first thing that you ask yourself is, can I buy this used? And then see where that question takes you. It might take you to a used product that will serve your needs well. It might take you to a repurposed product from your own home, or from a family member, or from a friend who's getting rid of something. It might take you to a new product. You never know. But ask yourself always, can I get this used? Now, so far we have focused on the mindset of not spending more than you earn, of reviewing your bills at least once a year to make sure you're following through on that practically, and having the goal to buy used as much as is practical for you. What's the next step? Tip number 4, one of my favorites. I talk about it here on almost every video. Say it with me, folks. Budget. I love a good budget. And some of you have said to me in the comments that you're not a big fan of the word budget, but you love the concept of a spending plan. And I adore that phrase. So thank you to those of you who told me about that, that sometimes the word budget really throws you off and you think, budget, oh my gosh. But if you think spending plan, then you know exactly what you're doing. You're making a plan for your spending. I love that. My favorite program that I talk about again in almost every video is You Need a Budget. I love it. I recommend it. I've used it. It has changed my life. It helped me learn how to give every dollar I have a job to do for me. It also helped me to plan for the future. It helped me to understand exactly what I need to save for. It's been a lifesaver. Others of you have recommended a free program called Every Dollar that apparently is an app you can get on your phone. I haven't tried it yet, but if you've tried it, please tell me down below in the comments, what do you love about it? And if you use a different spending plan / budget, talk to me about that. I want to know what's working for you. If you've been struggling with budgeting, I would like to encourage you to do this. Try again, and then try again, and then try again. Don't give up. There's no such thing as failure. You're not earning an F. It's not a class. I know I sometimes give off teacher energy because I've been a teacher for 30 years. I get a lot of comments from you folks saying, you need to slow down. I'm trying to take notes. First of all, my teacher heart is gladdened by that comment. But second of all, I'm not giving you a grade, and life isn't giving you a grade. This is just you trying and trying and trying again until you find something that works for right now and something that works for the future. But you do need a budget, or if that doesn't work for you, you do need a spending plan. Now, if this is the first time you've happened upon one of my videos, I am so glad you're here. I'd like to invite you to please subscribe and hit that notification bell and give this video a like, and then I'd love it if you would share it with a few friends. This channel is growing and this community is growing so fast and so strong. I am so happy. For those of you who've been around for a while, who've been looking for ways to support the growth of the channel, I finally made a way for you to do that. I've left a link down below in the description to a place called Buy Me a Coffee. You won't actually be buying me a coffee, but I loved the cheekiness of this. If you give just a couple of dollars, it will help support the growth of the channel. Your being here helps support the growth of the channel, and I thank you so much. Let's get right back to these tips. Tip number 5, reduce debt. I'm talking about large debt and small debt. Some of us put debt in a couple of different categories, and I confess that I am the sort of person who puts debt into a couple of different categories. For example, my mortgage and my home equity line of credit, I generally consider that good debt, and I just keep paying on it regularly. I plan for monthly payments, but I don't necessarily fall into the category of people who want to pay down their mortgage very rapidly. In my case, that's because I plan to sell the home before I would have a chance to pay it off. And so I just keep the payments going. And then when I sell it, I will evaluate how much I need to make so that I have paid off my mortgage, my home equity line of credit, the real estate fees, and all other associated things, and hopefully made a little bit of cash on top of that. Others of you may want to stay in your homes forever, and your goal may be to pay down that mortgage, pay down that home equity line of credit as quickly as possible. And your view of debt for a mortgage is going to be different from mine. That's okay. Either way is okay as long as we understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. When it comes to smaller amounts of debt, consumer debt, this is where I think we can really drill down and get specific about what we're doing. We've had conversations here in the comments about people who make semi-large purchases on zero-interest credit cards with a specific plan to pay it off before the end of the zero-interest period. I myself have done this, and it has worked fine. If you are the sort of person who has a regular income and you can trust yourself to do this sort of thing, it's probably okay for you. But you also may be the sort of person who looks at a zero-interest credit card not as a bank loan, but as a blank check. If that's your mindset, don't use that kind of credit. It will not be your friend. See number 1 above about spending less than you earn. Now, again, I know that we are in difficult times, and some of you are putting groceries on credit cards right now, and I understand that, and I am not judging that situation. My heart goes out to you. But if you are in a situation where you have a regular income and you just don't know where your money's going, try that budgeting thing, that spending plan thing, try that for a couple of months, reduce your expenses, and then start to look at ways that you can reduce your debt. Many people swear by the Dave Ramsey snowball plan, where you pay off a small debt first, just so you can pat yourself on the back and feel better. And if that works for you, that's great. If you want to tackle your most bothersome bit of debt first, you go for it. But make a plan to reduce your debt. Number 6, provide for your own financial needs where possible. This is a special message to those of us who are women who are in the baby boomer and Gen Xer generations. We may have heard from mothers, teachers, women mentors that we can do certain things in life because a man can provide for us. I just grew up hearing that. It's okay, I mean, you can major in music because you can have a man provide for you. Or a mentor would say, you need to really play up to that particular opera company director because you look like a younger version of his wife and he might cast you because you look like her. These are the kinds of messages that I heard growing up. These were not messages of financial empowerment, I have to say. Now, the women who said these things to me were trying to financially empower me in the way that they knew how. They were trying to set me up for financial success, but the financial success that they wanted to tie me to was related to a relationship with a partner or a relationship with a mentor or a boss who would treat me in a way that I don't necessarily want to be treated, I gotta be honest. And here we are, I'm age 54, and I have figured out how to take care of myself financially. Now, this does not mean if you're in a partnership with another person that you both have to earn the exact same income and you have to split your bills 50-50. That's probably not realistic in most relationships. It's very common that one person has charge of bringing in the money and one person has charge of raising the children when the children are small, for instance. And both of those have equal weight and equal importance in the care of the household, in the care of the family. But if you think about what your needs are, not just now, but long term, your needs are for a source of financial stability that you can create and that you can count on your own. Again, this doesn't mean we are not interdependent. We are, of course, interdependent. But it does mean that I look to myself and I think, what skills do I have? What talents do I have? What's my job history? What's my work experience? What are the things that I can offer the world that could bring me in some income? And I look at those things as a positive, and I seek out ways to become financially dependent on me. Number 7 is one of my favorites, and I don't think I talk about it here enough. Right size your living space. And I am using that very 90s expression very carefully and very intentionally. For some of us, right sizing our housing means that we need to downsize because we have a big house and we need something smaller, more practical, more functional, more frugal. For others of us, right sizing means going bigger because, for instance, we're going to live with family members. This is a really common thing. I have had family members that I have watched go through both processes at different points in their lives. And I've experienced this myself. So I don't ever want you to hear from me that you need to live in a certain size house in a certain geographical location and that's the only way to go. Not at all. Particularly those of us who really enjoy being around family. We may want to create a home environment that allows for them to come and stay for extended periods or even to share living space. And that can be the right size. It's going to be a bigger home, but it's functional, it's practical, and it's very frugal for everybody involved. On the other hand, you may feel like you want to be a world traveler. Someday we'll be able to travel the world again. And you may want a very small space that you can just lock the door and go and not worry about it. Or anything in between. Think carefully about what are your needs, what are your plans, what are your goals, and even what are your dreams, and make your plans for housing fit those goals, those plans, and even those dreams. Number 8, save for a rainy day. For some of you, you are living through the rainy day and you are using the savings that you saved before for a rainy day. I'm sure that's painful, and I'm also sure that you are glad that you have that savings and you're hoping that the rain will stop soon and you can start building that up again. Many of us have a small to medium to large rainy day fund. Some people call it an emergency fund. Some people call it future spending. Some people put it into a category in their budget called future to be budgeted. It's just a place where you're holding money that you're going to use later, or that you're holding aside for something that's just an emergency that you can't predict. Things that are going to come or that may be here that you know you'll need money for and you'll need it right away. This is another really tricky one to talk about in this day and age, but I'd like to encourage you to include it in your mindset as you're planning your budget, as you're planning your spending plan, so that you have the idea that even if I'm just putting away a few dollars at a time, I'm building up money so that when the rainy day happens, I have at least a little bit to help me out. And this leads us to tip number 9, which is save for the long term. This is something that we should be doing all of our lives. I'm teaching my teens to start this right now, even when they're in their teens. Start saving for retirement. Save for those long-term goals. I love to think about retirement as sort of the ultimate long-term savings. You may have another thing in mind. You may want to save for a boat so you can travel the world in retirement. So you're not only saving for retirement, you're saving for your boat. In fact, if you are, tell me about it in the comments. I want to follow you on Instagram. Now, we may each have different long-term goals that we're saving for, but sit down and think about this, or walk around the block and dream about it. What is your long-term goal, your long-term ideal, and what savings do you need to have for that? I am a big retirement saver because I am really looking forward to one day living on those retirement earnings. Tell me down below in the comments, what are your long-term goals that you really want to save for? Tip number 10 is for those of us who are working. If you are still working, as I am, as many of us are, or if you wish you were working, update your resume, update your career plans, update your entrepreneurial skills. When was the last time you wrote a resume? When was the last time you applied for a job? When was the last time you thought to yourself, I really should start that side hustle? Update it. Plan for something new that you could do, that you could add income to your life, that you could maybe change a career. Maybe you could do something that's more satisfying or more lucrative, or ideally both. Maybe you could add another side hustle to all of the ones that you're already doing. Maybe this is the year to start your own business. What are my career skills? What are my career plans? What are my career goals? And I've said it before in this video, I'll say it again. What are my dreams? If you don't sit down and think about it, your life is just going to kind of stumble forward, and you'll very likely find that you didn't get where you wanted to go. It's possible that we'll aim ourselves in a certain direction and then have to change course. It's really unlikely, as a matter of fact, that we'll go straight from point A to point B at any time in our lives. But take a step forward and see what the obstacles are, or see what the changed opportunities are. Get that resume out. Brush off those skills and reach for something new that you can do to bring in income and to bring in satisfaction in the new year. It's time for today's question of the day. What is your most practical frugal living tip? Share it with us down below in the comments. Thomas Edison said, opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work. Don't be afraid to do the work, friends. Wherever you are on your frugal living journey, I am so proud of you. Take the next step and know that you are not alone. Live frugally, change your life, and you will change your world. I can't wait to see you again soon. Bye-bye.